All right, everyone. Just making sure I've tweeted out to the world about being live. And I just checked the sound there, and that looks like it's coming through fine. So let's click. Oh, I want to mute myself, and then I want to go there for full cam. And that should switch that over in a second. There we go. Perfect. Just wait for the delay to kick up. Okay. So everything is working as intended perfectly. Oh, it's not getting any longer. It's just getting more annoying. Can see and hear. Awesome. Well, thank you. Welcome everyone who is here and the people watching this after the fact. So again, if you're new here, welcome. My name's Michael. I'm a technical analyst and a quantitative analyst in the stock, FX, and crypto markets. I do some YouTube videos. I'm planning on doing some more. I appreciate everyone who I emailed out as part of the email list. I got some good response of stuff that you guys would like to see on the channel, so excited to do more of that. So basically what we do is on one day on the weekend, I do a live stream. I summarize everything I've done on the channel for that week, which admittedly over the last few weeks hasn't been a lot, but I'm hoping to come up with some good ideas and to, to expand that more. So if you're watching this and I have the chat here and I have the Stats Edge Pro chat, I'm always looking for ideas. So leave in the comment section when this is a recording, kind of what you wanted to see. And that would help me out dramatically. But we do that. Then we go over Forex, crypto, and stock markets and kind of what I'm thinking. Then we scan for a couple stocks that are going to make it to the list for Monday. And then that's it. Oh, and at the end, I'll do any chart requests you guys have. So if you've got, hey, look at this chart. What do you think of this? I'll do that, obviously, with the caveat that I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing you're going to see here is financial advice. I'm just some guy on the internet. If you choose to follow me, that's entirely your problem. Now, essentially what the summarized... So what I do and what this is kind of a preview of what the Stats Edge Pro membership is. So if we go, let me just do this now before I forget. If we just go in this one, so here's my website, link is in the description below. I'll also put it in the comment section. And if you're interested in Stats Edge Pro, it's basically a good summary of it is me doing this about hour and a half of work every night, putting my thoughts together of the market, the same thing that I always do when I'm trading myself. And you guys get to look at that. It has a watch list of things I'm watching, and then also, a chat room, and you have access to my scans and all of that as well. So if you want to give that a shot, it's $2 a day. So I think it's certainly worthwhile. So I would give that a shot. But that's basically what you're going to see here is the work that I put in, and then what the Stats Edge Pro people are going to get after that is just a neat little output. I wonder if I can just go right to the Squarespace here. Yeah, I can, and just show you what the output would look like looking at one of the most recent days. I don't think there's anything here that I can't show. Yeah, so what I'll do is everything that I'm going to scan and all of that will be compiled into a nice list like this with all the FX and crypto stuff and the equity markets, any stocks that I'm watching currently and levels and that type of thing. Again, not an alert service or signal service, it's a research service. So you can take my research and apply your own to it or whatever you'd like to do. So let's just get right into it then. I see all the hellos here. Hello from Chicago. up that over and let's go to the YouTube channel and see. Really was lazy this week. I think I only did 1 or 2 videos, and we'll talk about those. Content. Oh, I only did 1. Wow. I got to get off my arse. And it was just Rambus, RMBS. Haven't done anything with it yet. Just looking for a close kind of up in this 2450 area. Essentially with Rambus, I'm just this big pullback. It came up and met it, and then it's putting in this kind of sideways action. So, you could call this a cup and handle or whatever. So I'm looking for a close. And again, these are the notes that I just put on all of my charts here. And I'm looking for a close over 2450. Which is going to go right here. And you can see that every time it gets up there, it's getting sold. So there was no entry for that as of yet. I put where I would look for a stop loss. Yeah, Grant. But again, it's not to be followed precisely, right? And the reason I say that is I've never met a successful trader who just follows other people's trades, right? So it's again, it's for you to kind of look to see what it is that how I do and how I look at the markets, and then, but yeah, so I can even show, because I want to do, where is this? Yeah, so this is what the watch list looks like, right? It's just a Google Doc that has, hey, this is what I'm looking and the prices I'm looking for it at, and then recent things that trigger, and I just clean these out every now and then. And then the FX or the crypto as well, because I'm doing more and more trading in crypto all the time. It's just a great trading vehicle. Speaking of, let's actually just get into that right away. So I like to start with the crypto and the FX markets and then go into the equity markets. So first of all, you can see if I just scan through, how's my face? My face blocking most of this? It is. Let's just do that for now down there. You can see there's not a lot that's up in crypto world today, but one of the things that is helium. I know helium's up today, and then there's a handful that are up. So I'm actually probably going to sort this and just look at the ones that are up today and then the majors. Just, I'm a relative strength guy. I like relative strength trading, so I want to focus on things that are showing some relative strength. HNT USD, that's helium. Yeah, so helium's just on fire. Yeah, it's right there. So yeah, that's up the most of the crypto watch list that I have. So let's just go into quickly into the clear that out. And I always like to look at the big ones, right? You always have to look at, you'd be remiss to not look at Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of those when you're talking crypto, right? That's just, I use those as kind of a market barometer more than anything. Move trash. All right. Yeah, every night, Grant. Well, every night, I'm a human, so there's going to be some things some nights that are missed and stuff like that. But yeah, every night is when I do the motto. Yeah, I know with the whole helium, trying to find helium hotspots. I know JC's big into that, but let's just go and look at Bitcoin, right? And let's actually, this one there. So yeah, so we were looking at this cup and handle here on Bitcoin earlier and got a nice trade from here. And then I mentioned I was actually short a little bit there. I got out that for like a tiny winner. It's not even enough to kind of consider a winner. I'd almost consider it just break even at that point. We made this other pop, and then we're still basing. So we're still having problems with these kind of 65 to 60,000. And there's really nothing to add to it. I want to see a break and a hold a few days above this kind of shaded area. Again, for you guys who don't know, I like to use these thick shaded areas as support and resistance as opposed to just horizontal lines. It's, an old technician always says, draw your support and resistance line with a crayon and not a pencil, just because, they're wide, areas. So I still think, we were targeting 70K. You can see right here. And that was just because if you took this measured move from the cup and handle breakout, it took us to about 70K. I think it's probably going to be a while until we see that again, and we're going to chop through. I don't think we ever got exactly there, but we got pretty close, right? We got to 68, I'm seeing. I still think we could get into the 70s pretty easy, and everyone's waiting for the Bitcoin 100,000. I think that's certainly possible. Ether is the other big one. Was some relative strength here on Ether, but that's actually diminishing. So there was this resistance at 4,000 that I put in. I'm just going to put, now will it be support? Right? Because it's one of those things that we had a hard time in this kind of shaded area. We broke out of it. Maybe if we pull back into it and hold, that'd be another buying opportunity. That would give us the same look that we're seeing in Bitcoin, which is break the highs, come back, retest the highs, and see what's going on there. The other ones I want to look at again are the ones that are doing the best. This LRC is going to be my miss of like the year, probably, because you can see I had it on watch for the pro members at 45 cents. I had a stop limit out, and it just shot through it. And I think I got filled on some, but it was, definitely did not make the profit on that was possible, or that I could have won it. So there's really nothing to do there. You could look at this as a bull flag, and LRC could continue. But, you've got the first kind of bull flag that happened here, and then the second one. So I don't know. It just gets a little long in the tooth, right? And I just can't find myself entering those. Helium, again, I just need more consolidation. This was a great move on Helium here for a breakout. Missed that, but maybe another one soon. I have no idea what this EWT is, but I really want to see things that are above this old high. If you look at all the cryptos, they had this kind of September-ish high, right? September, October, this high right here, and I want things that are hanging out above those. Hey, Usman, how's it going? So yeah, not a lot here. Quantum is interesting. I'm in Quantum right now. However, right, I'm in it from 15. You can see I put here. It's still just basing. So I don't know. Maybe it's time for a second move, right? Where if we take, I got to move this slightly there so I can see that part. But yeah, so we have this kind of bull flag area looking here. So I am already in, but so what's that? 18 and 14. So watch over 18. Right. So that might just be one of those things that I'm in at 15. Maybe I add at 18. Just try to see what a breakout is. And again, I always like to preface this, and it's not me just being a jerk about it, but I don't know what any of these do. I don't think you really have to, especially because I'm not looking at like the stuff on Uniswap and, Squid Game token or anything like that. But these are all things on Kraken. And to make it to Kraken, they have to have a certain amount of volume and a certain amount of liquidity. So I'm not worried about any of these things going to zero overnight. But, certainly could. Right? So you just have to note that. I'm trading these the same way I would trade like micro cap internet stocks, where I understand that they're risky and it's fine. I like volatility. Most traders you'll find really like volatility because you have to allocate less capital. So it kind of actually in and of itself has less risk. A stock that moves 1% a month, you got to put a lot of capital into it to make any kind of money. The something that can move 200-300% overnight, you can put a relatively much smaller amount of capital to achieve the same returns. So, where you might be buying $20,000 of a blue chip or whatever to make a grand or two, you could probably do the same by putting $1,000 into one of these other ones. So I always just like to preface that because, again, I use kind of, if it's made it to Kraken, it's probably somewhat legitimate as my only filter right now. I just can't, there's just too much. There's too many of them for me to really know what's going on here. So yeah, the rest of the market's down. So what I'll just say, again, I like to summarize every instrument before I move on. Someday I'll have someone that will splice these up and make them videos and all that kind of stuff. But basically, when it comes to Bitcoin, my summary is as long as we're at or above like 60,000, it's fine. I wouldn't participate until we were above and holding above kind of 66 or so thousand. But I'm certainly not going to short just right here. I had a little bit of a short there because it just had run a bit overextended into that area, but now it's just chopping. So the more things consolidate, the more, to me, they're like nice tight bases and not areas to get involved in the short side. Now let's go into the FX. I don't go through all of these, but I like to go through some of them in which basically the majors. I like to look at, let's just do USD JPY. I like to look at the yen. I like to look at the pound, the major ones. So this bull flag here in yen I've been tracking for a while. Had a little bit of a fake breakdown and then hold. So let me just kind of redraw. Let's actually delete that. Oops. Oh, I didn't get my quantum. Sorry, at the same time here, I'm taking these screenshots, and these screenshots are what goes in that blog post that I showed you earlier. So just want to make sure I'm doing that. But yeah, I like to look at the yen, and I like to look at Aussie yen, and there's just a nice kind of bull flag going on here in the yen. Really strong move, I guess, against the yen, right? And so this would be the yen going down. And same with Aussie yen here. Big strong push up and then this pullback. So I'm watching this pullback, and this is a note that I put when the market was selling off, that Aussie yen is just kind of an interest arbitrage trade, and when it's going up, it's generally considered risk off for the entire market. But now it's back in this range, so I don't really see much to do there. I like to look at, again, the pound, US dollars. I've been shorting this off these anchored VWAPs for a while, and it's been a great trade, right? A little bit of short here and a short here, and then I'm short a little bit here, and I still have a little bit, but I don't really see anything new to do there. And then USD CAD, same kind of thing. I was looking for a bounce off this level. I called, long over 24 cents. We got that. We're at 25 now. Again, really nothing too much to say about that either, so I'm not really going to even include those. Trying to make the watch lists or the stuff I do a little bit more concise, right? I can get rambly for sure. So if there's nothing to do, I'm not going to include the charts for those anymore. So again, when it comes to Bitcoin or crypto, it's strong but choppy. When it came to FX, we're seeing some US dollar strength and then weakness across the board. What is DXY? What's the US index? Yeah. UUP. I keep forgetting this. So this is kind of, I should probably include this in my Forex thing. This is the US dollar index. So it's essentially an index of the US dollar versus a series of different other currencies, right? I forget what the actual makeup is, but we were asked this on the CMT. It's got some pound and some dollar and some all this in it. So you can see we've got some of this resistance area going on here, and it'll be interesting to see what's going up there. It's shocking that both commodities, gold, the stock market, and the US dollar index is doing well, but market can do anything it wants. Generally speaking, when you see strong commodities, you see a weak dollar. However, it just might be one of those things where we know they're printing a crap ton of dollars and blah, 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 blah. That whole narrative you'll hear crazy people rant about all the time. But if every other country in the world's doing it too, maybe it's not going to hurt the dollar that much, because this is a nice long round base and it looks like we might be moving higher here in this. I have a line here. I don't know why. Is that actually a candle? Oh, that's a candle. I thought that was like a line. All right, so that's that. Why is sorry, this has been bugging me. Why is my white balance so weird? Oh, there we go. That looks a little bit more like life. There we are. Yeah, so there's really not much to say there other than dollar strong. So everything versus the dollar has been pretty weak. However, the pound has seemed to be even weaker. So I don't know what that would mean if everything starts to turn. And what are they doing that's making the pound that weak? Who knows? So let's go into the ETF market. Let's take a look at all of these different. I want this to be a thing, and then I want that to be a thing, and then I want to go here because I've got this more comprehensive list in Trade Ideas. Again, links for all of these are going to be in the description down below. Sorry. Trade Ideas is my scanner of choice, and it's pretty much my trading platform as well. I do a lot of auto trading and things like that, and I enter all of my orders through their Brokers Plus platform. And then TrendSpider I use as a little bit more of a advanced scanning tool, or not scanning tool, charting tool, right? They've got better drawing tools and things like that. So first one I always like to mark up is the SPY. You can see my notes here from last week, right? That we were, you guys were here last week. I was saying it was getting a little long in the tooth up here. We had a pullback just like we thought. This pullback was actually more shallow than expected. Right, I expected to try to maybe even retest this area. It was shocking how quickly the bears came out on Twitter, though. It was like how much it was, oh, guys, here we go. We're at the, we're topping. And they were down like 3%. I saw one tweet that I know triggered some people, that it was Steven something, who was just like, we're down 3%. You're all losing your mind. I think you're going to continue to see more of that. These bears have been absolutely nothing but completely wrong for well over a year now, and they're not going to change their minds now. So now I think the area that we watch is right here. So I'm going to delete this area, because you can see that was the top that we pulled back on right here, and then that acted as support right there. So I just think we need to watch this zone. I think that's very important. Above this support zone, I think we're incredibly bullish, and we're going to stay that way. And then below the support zone, things I think might get ugly. So, 160 on the RSP. If you guys don't know, I use the RSP as my index just because it's equal weighted version. I'm spending a lot of time on the SPY, the mid caps here. And on this, there was almost no pullback. If you look at this, if you zoom out on the MDY, and the MDY is essentially just a ETF on mid caps, which just means basically market cap of 2 to 10 billion. So not your little guys, not your huge guys, but somewhere in the middle. And there was no pullback with that, right? We're sitting pretty much right at highs here. Just pulled back to like the ADMA and then away we go. And then the IWM, this one is relatively weak. And that's kind of something that we've seen all year. That's not anything new. We've been in this range in the small caps for pretty much the entire year. We broke out. I'm kind of noting that why I think this zone's important, because of the highs back here and then the lows right here. That kind of needs to hold, but I just think it needs to be noted how weak the IWM is relative to the SPY and relative to the mid caps, right? That's the lowest one. Then I like to go and I like to take a look at this. And, right, so IWO represents small cap growth. So these are growth names. Growth generally, right, companies that don't make money, but they're growing faster than, value names, which make a lot of money, but they're not really growing. So I always think when you think growth, think like EVs and cutting edge tech and things like this. And when you think value, think, financials and, boring old big box retailers, things like that. The IWO has been okay, but the IWN has been really on fire. So I'm actually going to just put a little support zone in this, and we're going to note that as well. And I'm just going to keep that note that value is really outperforming growth. So the reason I do all of this work every single night, right, it's obviously for the Stats Edge Pro members, but I've basically, because Stats Edge Pro is just a look over my shoulder, this is the work that I've always done for myself anyway. And it's that I want to see what kind of zone that I'm in. Now that I know that value stocks are dramatically outperforming growth and that mid cap stocks are dramatically outperforming small caps, right? That will help me focus in to the stuff that I'm going to like the best. I'll still trade. I'm a setup based trader, so I trade whatever my setups show. But it's going to be, if I see two things that make up a setup that I like, I'm going to gravitate to the one that's going to be a mid cap value stock right now over a large cap growth stock. All right, let's color this just slightly different. I don't like that. Green is good connotations. Let's do that. So that's another bull flag. So we're seeing both a bull flag in financials here, and then the last one I just did that we saw that was energy. And then this XBI I'm continuing to track. So this is an idea that I wrote, and this has been in the watch list for ages now. We've got this really long move in the biotech sector, a nice clean pullback going on. What I'm looking for is this pullback to end before this support zone, just to show that buyers are becoming more aggressive. And then if we break out of this descending trend line, I may look for some biotechs to trade, or just trade this index in and of itself. I generally don't trade indexes much, something I might get into more with my boring accounts. Right, you still get a 30% move up to there. The reason I generally don't trade them is I think you can get more higher risk reward plays in stocks as opposed to in the ETF, right? But the ETF is going to be safer. So it's, all goal dependent, right? If you're very, very much, yeah, these anchored VWAPs from this high and this high are holding down. Let's actually just even remove this one and see. Yeah, it's having a hard time with that. Yeah, so it's all about whether you trade these ETFs or whether you use these ETFs to trade stocks has to do a lot with risk tolerance. If you had, say you have a massive account that you're trying to trade to live off of and you only need a few percent on that account a year, then, I would be doing ETFs mostly. And it might be something that I play around a little bit more as, my accounts and everything start to grow and I kind of bifurcate them into different strategies. But, lower risk, low return. It's just the nature of that game. Then let's do this. I like to go into here. What this is essentially just a look at the week and what has been doing very well and then what has been doing very poorly. And what I try to do to see if there's anything here worthwhile is I try to look for themes, materials is up and communications. Is that XLY or is that discretionary? That's discretionary, right? Yeah, discretionary is down. I don't really see much about that. But if you start getting clumps of, a lot of, energy is through the roof and materials is behind it and utilities is behind that, then you're like, okay, there might be a theme there. If you see anything discretionary selling off, like XL K along with that, XLC along with that, you can get themes there. But to be honest, I don't see a theme here. It just seems like a kind of a mixed market, which makes sense because the market was up and down this week. And then I like to always grab this right here. And this is just the news that's going to come out on Monday the 15th. I always just like to include this to see if anything is important. And, right, not very important. And that's just, I think, always important to know. I don't trade off fundamentals. I don't think there's any value in doing that. Invest, I guess you could off fundamentals, but I would always throw a chart in that because why not? If it's going down, it's got great fundamentals. Who cares? You're still losing money. But this is just to know. For example, if I knew like the AUD that's out tomorrow, I'm not probably going to be trading in the FX market. I'm not going to be trading the AUD very much because it's like, hey, these things aren't really, there's all this news coming out. So long story short is I avoid news. I don't trade news, right? It's not that I use news to trade. I avoid it entirely. So I just want to know if there's anything in my way that I have to know about, and then I can kind of sidestep it and just wait for the news to be done and then place my trade. I need to just change live German market hours. There we go. So these are just some more ETFs that I look at. The autonomous vehicle ETF is interesting, right? This is going to be your ETFs. Just DRIV is the ticker. So it's basically an EV ETF. You can see that had a massive range went on here, and it just broke out when Tesla started to go nuts. Just is what it is. Again, here's same thing. I was looking at the RSP there. And then I don't really see too much else. XLP was down, and that's consumer staples, so that makes sense. It's underperforming. And that's about it. Gold's perking up a bit. It's interesting because gold's been kind of the worst investment here for ever since August. Gold and silver have just been awful, but both are starting to kind of perk up a little bit. I still don't see any real setups there. I don't understand gold, and I know there's some gold bug out there that's going to get mad, but it's not actually scarce. It's not a medium of exchange anymore. No, it just seems like some boomer stuff to me, to be honest. But I'm a trader. If it's going up, I'm going to buy it. If it's doing what it's done for the last 2 years, I don't think there's any sense of buying it. Okay, so let's scan for stocks. First thing I want to do is I want to go through and see if there's anything I want to remove from yesterday's list. So this is going to be yesterday's list. And again, this is just kind of how I note everything for the Stats Edge people, so they know what I'm looking at and why. Like we were looking at Newegg, and I'm thinking if it can get over and close over 17, that might be interesting. It had this nice earnings. Was that an earnings move? No, I guess not. Something came out here, which was obviously very positive. And then for the last 4 or 5 days, it's been basing here. That hasn't triggered, so I'm going to leave that on the list. Perry is very interesting, so that's going to stay on the list as well. Mass, I actually got triggered in Mass, so I need to go to. Did I already take that out? No. So I'll grab that and I'll pull that down to the triggered section. I always try to keep my list at a reasonable level, so under 15. HNST. Did I buy some HNST? I did, didn't I? It's one of the things I can actually go into this. I don't know if IB is back up. I know it's been down. I tried to check just before I did this. Yeah, so I took some. So I just said in chat instead of loading up my broker. Because, yeah, it's been weird. I still think this is valid, so I'm going to leave this on the list. But basically what we're looking at in this honest company is a strategy we've been playing more and more with, which is this RSI divergence, essentially looking for stocks that are selling but putting in higher lows on the RSI. And then I just look for some resistance to clear, right? I don't like buying things on lows. I want to see some kind of strength. Generally, I'm more of a relative strength guy, but this is something that's been working, so I'm going to continue to do it. Basically, just looking to see if we can bounce off that. Stop's pretty obvious. If we clear the gap, that's like 13, so that's an interesting one. SSNC, I am in some, but it just hasn't done anything. So I'm going to leave that one on the list. I like this one. They build, I've got a buddy that works for them. They basically build hedge fund administration tools. So they're kind of like a play on banks, and I think they're kind of a play on crypto as well. ATRA, some sort of biopharmaceutical. I like this one still. It's got this area of resistance right here that it broke through, and now it's pulling back and it's chopping around in. So if it can get a move and a back up over 18, that's where I'm interested. And then under 17 to see if we get another kind of pop there. GPK still looks good. Nothing to see there. Same with time. I still like the look of it. If it ever gets over 9, you can see I put a giant warning China. I think it was Sam that liked that. Because it's just, all of this was caused this massive down move from 30 down to 7 or 6 was just caused by China. Basically, I think privatizing a lot of this stuff, or publicizing, or whatever it would be called. But so I always put a warning when there's Chinese name going on. KeyCorp, I really like the look of, right? Just a nice kind of strong base here, little cup and handle looking play. It's in the financial space, which is why, again, we go to ETFs, right? So when I saw KeyCorp come through my scans, I remember this ETF that is just kind of basing sideways. So if XLF breaks out, then it's most likely that my key trade will be positive. So that's why it's right top and then down into whatever I'm looking at. INMD still looks good. This little wick, I guess, explains why I only enter my swings on the close now. It's because, that would have suckered me in if I was watching that live, I'm sure. I am in some TAP as well. Same kind of thing, looking at this RSI divergence. So we're looking for higher lows in the RSI and then lower lows on price. And then I look for it to base and to put in some sort of a pattern to fill, right? You can't just buy anything based off a technical indicator. That'll be a bad move. So wait for price to confirm. Same as you wouldn't just buy anything because you like it fundamentally. You want price to confirm your idea. I still like it, so I'll leave it on the list. And then RMBS, we talked about this earlier. I'm waiting for a close over this area. I still think it could do that relatively easily. And, anytime that I find something that's got a long ways till earnings, I really like it because it's been a bit of a pain trying to find stocks that don't have earnings coming up. All right. So now is when we'll do some scanning. At the same time, this is a good time that we could do chart requests. We could go through and run those. So if you have anything you want to look at, let me know in chat. And just general questions. If you guys just want to shoot the shit about whatever, ask them in chat. It's the only reason I do this live instead of, again, I don't know how many people are in here. I hide all this stuff. Find it distracting, but the reason I do it live is for interaction in chat, so we can certainly do more of that. I want to do more live streaming. I got to make more videos. We just broke 4,000 subs on the channel, which is awesome. Again, if you're new here, consider subscribing. If you like the video, the algorithm likes that. Comment, all of that fun stuff. Share it with your grandma. Anything like that would be fantastic. More growth, the better. Right? I love doing this stuff, so the more that I can kind of get away with doing it, it's going to be the better. It's an interesting one. That pullback was pretty dramatic, but I think as long as you're above 50, you're good on this one. It's a boring name, but there's nothing wrong with that. Orthopedic Care. Interesting. Yeah, it's a good looking chart. I don't, I like more bases and things like that. If I were to catch it on that pullback, that would have been interesting, but you obviously got $50 as your number, I think is pretty easily. ADNT, I don't like that. I don't see anything there, right? So it's gone from 40 to 47 in 3 days. And then you've only got, so that's your risk, that first arrow I drew, and then that's your potential return. It looks like a less than 1-to-1 to me, so not interested in that one. All right, now let's see from my setups what's going on here. Triggered on a really old alert. Yeah, I clear out all my alerts all the time. So you guys may notice I'm on a experimental version of Trade Ideas with an addition that I am absolutely loving, which is just this little E right here. Right? Just tells me, okay, earnings on ICPT is gone. So I don't have to worry about that anymore, right? It's back here. I love that. It's something that I really used a lot in TrendSpider. I'm glad we liked. This is interesting to me, right? We've got $20 is a very important level. We've got a big, long, rounded base in here. I like those. I really like long bases. So what? We're over 20. So then it's time to do the risk-reward math, right? So I want it over 20 because that's the obvious area of resistance. Your stop is 18.50, so that's $1.50. So then where is 23 is what I look at. So 23 is kind of in this area, so a little bit above these recent highs for 2-to-1. Seems possible to me. So I'm going to add, I think, ICPT to the list. Actually, I'm going to just note it down so basically I keep my list to under 15 stocks and we already have 11 on there. I like to be in this situation, which just means that I get to be very selective about what it is that I'm looking at. So before I do anything, I just pulled out my iPad and I'm just going to start jotting down things that I like. And then at the end, I'll go through them and I'll decide which will be the kind of 4 that will make it there. AMD, I think, is already, that's just, you're buying that now, you're kind of chasing. I mean, it's gone from 100 to 147 in 2 weeks. So certainly wouldn't short a rocket ship like that, but I don't see a setup there. If you've got, again, if any of these you have a written kind of tested setup and it's working for you, great. I also say if you don't have a written tested setup for anything, then you're a gambler and things will end poorly. That's a weird looking chart. Docs. Is that right? That's short float? Let's go to shortsqueeze.com and then looks. Can you have a 29% short float for an IPO like that? Yeah. Okay, well, that's got to go on the list. Right, so we have this area, resistance right here, which is kind of support in through here. And then we have this downtrend line that's finally been broken. So what, the high here, and again, I do this so you guys kind of see the process I look at. I like the setup. I really like the fact that it's got a short float that's big. Earnings is already out of the way. And then I say, $77. And then my risk is $67. So I'm risking, is that damn near 20 points, right? Or 10 points. So I've got to make 20 points. So then where's 97? And that's still under these highs. So interesting. It's a volatile one. It's going to be a riskier one, but I like the look of that. So I'm going to add that to my temp list and we'll see if it makes it to the live one. Like the look of that one as well. SKLZ. I'm just confirming that short float. That's legit. That short float. I use, just FYI to confirm if anyone's wondering, I use a website just called shortsqueeze.com. You can just type in the ticker and it gives you what they have as a short float. Just as, anytime I see something, it's like, is it too good to be true that a quarter of the shares out there are shorted? Let me go double check. Yes, they confirm it. I use shortsqueeze.com because I know that the data sources are different. So if they agree, then it's very likely that they're the same, that it's correct. And if they disagree, then I can go to like a third website to see what one's left. But I like that this 13, right, was support here, gapped through it here, resistance there, resistance there, resistance there, right? So skills over 13 is interesting. And then I say, okay, so 13, where would my stop be? Let's say worst case stop is 11. So I'm risking $2. So then where is 17? And that's just in here. So well below these highs, not even quite at this low right here. So I really like this one. So I'm actually just going to put a little star behind that because that's so far. Actually, I'm just going to add that one to the list right now. That's got to go. SKLZ 1311, and then we'll do the notes here because again, this is just easier to annotate these things in TrendSpider than I find in Trade Ideas. So let's go back to here. We'll take a look and then say support there, resistance here, and then here. And then, yeah, it's just putting in this kind of tight sideways consolidation. So we're going to watch 13 and we're going to stop it at 11. And by we, I mean me. I think we had this on it back in August. Maybe. August. Here. Maybe while it was near support. I don't know. Just, again, I live a very simple, easy life. And I'm a setup guy. And it meets the setup, so it goes on the list. Right? It's every year that goes by, I seem to be very much simplifying like everything in my life, and it just makes everything so much better. So Playboy, right? It's got the same kind of setup, where it's got this long base, it's got a cup, and then this is kind of a handle going on here. It's got a massive short float, but we have earnings on the 15th, which is Monday after the market closes, so that's just disqualified just off that merit alone. Chewy, I don't like. It's just under a bunch of junk there. It's got a long rate to get through. Corsair Gaming. All right, so what instantly pops out? So this list that I have, right, this is I can't share this just on the stream. It's got, well, the guys will tell you it's got one hell of a custom in it, but part of Stats Edge Pro is you get access to all of my scans on Trade Ideas and TrendSpider with the customs that come with it and instructions on how to set them up and all of that. So this is from the J-Hook scan, which I have sorted by short float. So that's why you're seeing all these big short float names. I like the look of this for a couple of reasons. So we have an RSI divergence here, right? So that's holding there. We also have, and this is the Wyckoff. I don't know how to pronounce it, bottom. But it basically it's a bear trap. So in theory, because we have this area that was support, and then here, and then here. So if I connect these three lines, and let's just do it with the thin lines and Trade Ideas, right? So you can see this point, this point, this point. So $25 is obviously important. And then it just spent this kind of period of time under $25 and then ripped back up after earnings. So this could be a bear trap where they sucked in some bears or they got some bulls out of the way. And now it's putting in this kind of little base here. So again, it's time to do the math. So let's say $26.50 for an entry and then $25 for an exit. So $1.50. So then what's the idea? What's the chance that we can go $3, which is 29, which gets us just under this resistance right here. So I like that one. So we're going to add on CRSR. I like the look of that one as well. I'm not going to add that to the list right now because it didn't, come out and smack me the way the other ones did. But it looks good. And then these massive short float names are really interesting to me, right? Where if they seem to like come in and out of favor when it comes to these big short float names, right? Where it's like something wakes up the Wall Street bet guys and everything that has a high short float gets a couple massive days and runs scared. So I always want to make sure I'm watching them. I've got them kind of on a list. I have a bunch of short float names because then if I find a setup within those short names, then I can, that's just how I do everything. This RVMD is interesting. It's just a little bit gross of a trader to me. Average daily volume 300,000 shares. That's why I can just tell that it's just not a great trader, but it is a decent looking setup. So, if you like that one, it's RVMD, 20% short on that one. MVIS, just so much junk overhead. X was interesting. I was actually looking for back here, I think, a more of a pullback, and I was going to actually buy X on the dip, which is something I don't do very much. But when I found out that X is a 20% short float, that was pretty wild. So BGS here is interesting. I don't think the risk reward math works on it though. Thing I like about this is that, again, large short float, big long base, and actually popped out of it on earnings. And this is why I don't think you need fundamental data or news at all, right? So you see an earnings tag right here, and you see it run from $20 to $35. You don't need to sit there and read the earnings report. Whatever they said, the market likes. So for a longer term play, this one actually looks a little bit interesting, but I just don't. There's just basically I'm just looking at these massive topping tails at 35. So what, I buy it at 33 and then I stop it at 32 and then maybe I get to 35, but we do have a lot of resistance there. So it's good, but it's just not If I was struggling for ideas, I'd basically put this one on. Because I'm filtering out ideas, I'm not going to put that one on. The reason that I don't look at everything is I just don't think you can. Again, it's one of those things. I probably sound lazy the way I talk about trading, but it's more of a Zen thing. The more complex you make things, the more thinking you do, the more all this, the less it is that you're, clear-headed and focused. Nicola's interesting. I don't like to trade off fundamentals, but Nicola seems like a scam. So I would worry about that. But again, nice big earnings pop and then kind of sideways consolidation with a 20% float. So I'm not going to add it just because it looks kind of scammy. I watched like a YouTube thing on it where they talked about like the owner and how he was doing other scams before he did that scam and just not. I just know enough to say, hey, again, I've got a lot of setups on the go, so I just don't want to be involved. So what's the math here? Because I like everything else about it. So 1350 down to 13. So you're only risking 50 cents. So then what's 1450 right here? It's just not very volatile. But yeah, Sam's saying he remembered the Nikola. There's like a meme on FinTwit, right, where everyone just goes, and Nikola has still yet to build a single truck. Because it's like, at this point, what are you guys doing? Like, Rivian came out, and even though the evaluation is just stupid, they have a truck, right? I've seen reviews of it. It actually looks like a pretty cool truck. Nikola was going to do some weird hydrogen power stuff that doesn't look like it was ever viable. And they've raised a lot of money, so it's like in 10 years the thing could be the most valuable company on earth. And again, I don't care because I wouldn't have held it that long, right? Oh, so you've seen the Thor. It's interesting. Yeah, I watched a guy, MKBHD. He's my favorite tech reviewer. He's got like just a really chill style of doing that, and he does vehicles as well. So I watched his video on the F-150 Lightning, and I watched his video on the Rivian truck. And again, they look cool. I'm wearing plaid with a giant beard and looking out my window. I live in the middle of the woods, right? So I would be one that you would expect to have a truck, but I don't. The reasons I don't have a truck is because they're expensive on gas and they're a pain in the ass to drive. But if you get a self-driving electric one, that removes both of those pains. So maybe. The thing I really liked about the F-150 was the uh, the reverse power, right? So how your power goes out and your truck can power your house at the same time your house is powering your truck. I'm like, that's future stuff right there. Oh, Papa John's. When did we buy? I remember Papa John's for Stats Edge being like the trade of a while. Was it here? Because I got a bunch out of, like, if I go through like my most profitable symbols, it's like pizza is going to be one of them. Or was it way back here? I don't know. We got a monster run, like 30% out of Papa John's, which I just thought was hilarious. And profits come from where you least expect them. So now we're into like the 5% short floats here. So I'm going to go and take a look at so for you, pop that in here. For you trade ideas people, right? The TI strength stuff is updated already. I'm actually going through and I'm going to take a look at all these again. Let me just reset this. There's a little glitch, I think, maybe with this Market Explorer where it seems to like refresh after. Get out of here. I hate that Windows didn't like ask me if I wanted Windows 11. I just woke up one day and away it went. I really like that this TI strength just as a scanner now that it's part of the system. So that's why I'm just getting this. I didn't build it as a scanner. I built it as like an algorithmic tool, but it's working and it works. It works well. So I want to continue to keep an eye on it. So let's see. This has to start up. All right, let's do something else while that's running. Let's look at the pullback scanner. This is also by short float, but this is just looking for stocks that have pulled back recently. The hope is to find stuff that's pulling back, into a support area. Like Pets here, even though it's ugly, has a massive short float. You can see that it broke out and now it's pulling back into prior resistance. So this thing could, in theory, pop here. Is that short float correct? Because if it is, Pets, P-E-T-S. I'm assuming they do something with pets, pet supply store. Yeah, so shortfloat.com has it at 27%. Trade Ideas has it at 30%. Oh, it's so ugly though. No, don't do it. But again, so if any of you guys are interested, this is one that I like, but I just think it's just a little bit too choppy and ugly. I just like the breakout, pullback into prior resistance, and then the fact that it's 30% short. So if this thing pops up as well. Yes, Sam, I've seen Posh, and I'm glad I wasn't playing with it. That's been kind of a darling of mine that I've been trying to. Am I on the wrong? Oh, that will do it. Boom, there we go. So a lot of these are on the TI strength list already, so I can't. So I'm not just going to put them on our list, right? But see if there's any that are. See if any that are interested. And if you don't know what this is, it's an algorithm that I made that's with Trade Ideas. So if you have a Trade Ideas subscription, it's included in it. If you don't have a Trade Ideas subscription, link in the description below takes you to my website, which has an affiliate link for Trade Ideas if you want to give it a shot. Full disclosure, they'll pay me for that. Same with TrendSpider. That's why I have them there. So if you're interested in either, if you use my link, I do appreciate that. It doesn't. I have a discount link for Trade Ideas, right? It won't cost you any more. It will actually cost you a little less. And they kick a few bucks back my way for every purchase. So now I don't really see a lot there. Okay. I just thought I would check. Let's go back to here. But yeah, this Posh, right? That's why, again, I have my setup. I'll buy it. And this is a perfect example of why I won't hold into earnings. Right? There is no better example of just get out. Again, the way I look at it, if you own a stock, you've got three things that will happen with earnings. Big gap up, which you're just lucky. Big gap down, which would really, really hurt. Or then sideways chop. And with sideways chop, you can get back in. with the real big gap down, that's going to hurt a lot. And then maybe you'll get a little bit of a pop up, but AI development. Gross looking chart. Just noticed, right? The RSI divergence going on here. It's maybe over 50, but it's like, look at all this. Look at all the bag holders, right? That's one thing I always look for. And I say, okay, are there bag holders that are, that are going to get, that are hurt enough that they're going to sell, right? So Rocket, this one looks really good to me. It's a nice strong push up, prior highs right here. Now it's pulling back, but I have to worry about this, right? So 40. So my question on Rocket, because I think there's just probably a lot of bag holders from around there, is, so if I buy this at 35 and then I put my stop at 33, that's risking $2. So then $4 gets me to 39, which is really close to that. So not going to take that one. Again, it's just something I look at and I say, listen, if I was in this, where am I holding the bag and where is it time to exit? Because we know it's not right, but we know what a lot of traders do is, if they'll get smacked by something and they'll say, well, if it only gets back to even, then I'll get out. So that's why, as something, even like this that just got murdered from 50 down to 20, as it starts to climb, it's just going to have a harder time because more and more of these people who are trapped up here are going to be selling as things are rising. So I am done. I'm actually going to add in CRSR. So let's just do that on stream and then we'll call it. So we'll go ICPT. That one's going to be in as well. Oh. So I must have done something with ICPT because I have it. What did I want? I wanted 15 and 14. Why, Michael? Was it a little RSI divergence? I guess. Ugh. Well, if you got it at 15, it's at 19, but I'm kind of at a loss to see why I would have liked that. Yeah, I don't know. Let's bring up the strategy tester and how do I I keep forgetting how to reset. There we go. I just had to get those off the screen. I've been doing some algo playing with TrendSpider. The issue with TrendSpider is just that there we go. That you can only do one symbol at a time, right? That's why I think Tradias still has a superior backtester because doing kind of one thing at a time I don't think is insanely interesting. I want to test a wide variety or a basket of stocks, and then I think that'll be interesting to me. So I'm going to watch 20, and then we're going to put a stop, and we're looking basically at this place that was resistance there, support there, and now is just acting as this area right here. We've got this big kind of rounded base right here. And then, right, a little bit of a pullback. So if we can get over 20, which is kind of right here, that's where I'm interested. And then if we get back under 1850, that's where I'm not interested. So we're going to go watch 20. Right, and then you guys saw how I do the math, and I say, okay, is that something that I think is interesting as a trade, right? That do I think I can get my 2-to-1? That doesn't mean I always get my 2-to-1. It doesn't mean I always even shoot for just a 2-to-1, right? I'm a sell in part kind of guy. But I just need to make sure that 2-to-1 is just reasonable, right? Because if it's not, then I'm kind of just gambling at that point, right? If I'm just looking for, um, hey, this is a good chart. I think it's going to go up. It's like, yeah, but I'm never going to be right more than, 60 to 66% of the time. So I need to make sure that I've got that risk and reward really stacked in my favor. And for me, that's the reason why I spend more time on my swing trading than my day trading. My day trading, I go for like 1 to 1.5 to 1, right? It's, buy 1,000 shares, sell 800 at 1 to 1, and then try to go for the rest because you have such a limited time that you're scalping, right? Risk $100 to make $150 and just do that 20 times a day. But with swing trading, I can make, in theory, like a 10 to 1. So I want to make sure that that's at least possible, not having a lot of resistance overhead, right? So we're going to watch 77, and we're going to put our stop all the way down at 67. So I'm going to put a warning on this one too. Just going to put crazy. Right? I like to warn people of, hey, this one's a bit nuts. Do with it what you want. Again, it's not a signal service. I don't want you to just be randomly taking this. If anyone goes, hey, I lost a bunch of money, I'm going to go, well, that sucks for you. You should have done a better job, right? I'm not going to take any responsibility because, again, it's not a signal service. So, but at the same time, this would be a note that I would leave to myself as well. So when it comes time to enter, I'm like, okay, this isn't a pretty insane stock, so I have to be careful with that. So right, we've got this support. That was support here, here, and here. Now we're looking at Corsair, which is probably going to be what I'll make that short video about on Corsair. And then we've got this area of resistance right above. So we're going to say like 27 and then 25. So we're basically just playing off of, and I'll just put in this RSI divergence. We're basically playing off these lows and the insane short floats on these things, right? You notice everything I added was a pretty big short float just because, again, I can be very picky. So instead of going through hundreds of stocks like I do when I need to, I only went through not nearly as many stocks because I want to make sure that I'm, just 25. I'm being very picky. So I want the good setups, but I also want the good setups with the high short float. I'll take the good setups without it. You saw that I looked at some relative strength plays, but there was nothing that was super interesting from the relative strength side of things. So we're going to go to the setup side of things, right? The other thing I kind of want to note on this one is if we just draw out a simple trend line kind of from here down, you can see that we've just recently broke that on Friday. So I just want to see some continuation off of that and see if we can get going. Our 2 to 1 got us right under this area, which is fine, but then we could really get going. This is a more recent IPO on Corsair. I think what happened is it did this run up during the pandemic because people needed computer equipment for being at home, and then it's been selling off ever since as a stay-at-home play. But I think at some point they have to go, okay, well, it's not really just a stay-at-home play, and that people aren't going back to work. Like most places I'm hearing of, they're like, most of our people don't want to return to the office. So I'm going to delete that. All right, guys. So that is going to be it for today. So for the Stats Edge Pro people, just give me, 20 minutes, half hour, and I will have all of that up. I'll just ping in the Discord chat like I always do and say, hey, it's up and good to go. So you guys can review that for Monday. Thanks everyone for coming out. If you just want to hit the like button on the way out, that would be greatly appreciated. YouTube sends me an email at least once a week and says, hey, you should tell more people to like your stuff. So if you can, that'd be fantastic. And I will talk to you guys later.